investigative purposes. Now, what would happen if we were to queue all before the police office, waiting patiently while we can then put our thumb in blueprint and put it in a file which is stored later for later use against us? It is not surprising that various experts, including the Dutch Data Protection Authority, concluded that a central fingerprint database in general and this multi-purpose database in particular seriously infringe the right to privacy. Now, of course, it would be a waste of tax money if all this data was not put to good use. You can rest assured, and let me give you one example. The CIOT, or the Central Information Point for Telecommunication Investigations, is the investigative clearinghouse for telecommunication subscriber data in the Netherlands. For example, if the police comes across an email address and wants to know the person behind that address, it goes to CIOT and requests them to provide the real name of that subscriber. Now, most of the Dutch in this room will probably already know, but for those who don't know, how often does the CIOT receive such a request per month? Someone has an idea? 2,000. Some more? 250,000 requests per month. Now again, let's apply this example offline. Would it be acceptable if 250 Dutch citizens per month received a request from the police to identify themselves? All in all, I'm really concerned about the digital collection fever of the Dutch government. I'm surprised how little the right to privacy is respected. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for using digital technology to improve our lives. But the private data which is collected needs to be as minimal as possible. The need, therefore, needs to be clear, and the security has to be excellent. And it's not only databases that I'm concerned about. Simultaneously, the openness and freedom of digital technology, the promise I just talked about, and the internet in particular is still under siege. In the Netherlands, over 85% of all households have internet access. Digital technologies are becoming more pervasive and more important. Creative content is amazing. Blogs, wikis, mashups. Innovation shows no signs of abating. The free software movement creates software which is even better than what proprietary companies make, and they give the user more freedom. Information available online has exploded. Music, books, academic literature, everything is available at your own fingertips in your own house. It is not surprising then that the French Constitutional Court very recently confirmed that the internet connection is part of the right to freedom of communication. Nevertheless, powerful lobbies still attempt to gain control over this, one of the most efficient and one of the most open communication channels in the world. Rights holders are promoting the idea of disconnecting users from the internet, as we all know. Filtering and zoning technologies are becoming more pervasive in the Netherlands. For example, Brein has indicated that it's considering requesting internet service providers to block traffic from torrent sites. And the principle that internet providers should not discriminate between different types of content is a subject of the heated debate. These are also troubling developments. They all stand in the way of an open and free internet which is accessible to all. The fundamental right of freedom of communication is also in need of defense. So let's take stock. What has come of this principle? That which applies offline should also apply online. As it turns out, it resulted in the worst of both worlds. Far-reaching restrictions from the offline world are imposed on the online world, while the civil liberties that are applicable to all realms of human behavior are not being applied in the digital realm. That is why Bits of Freedom is back online, to try to ensure the fundamental rights of each citizen enjoys in all spheres of activity, he will also enjoy in the digital world. Now what will we do? The two themes I set out before will be central to our first campaigns. Privacy infringing database on the one hand, and open and free internet on the other hand. We have organized two small workshops tomorrow at 2 and 3, and you are more welcome to participate. We also have some very limited edition t-shirts that we can give away. Second, how will we do that? We will primarily work on influencing government policy and self-regulation. To this end, we will try to introduce specific legislative proposals aimed at safeguarding these fundamental rights. We will also develop websites which should become a focal point for the campaigns mentioned before. And we will, of course, continue organizing the Big Brother Awards, which have already been organized in the past. We will do our work in the Netherlands, but we will also make our voice heard at the European level. Where possible, we will work together with other digital rights organizations, such as ADRI or other digital rights organizations associated with ADRI. We will again start sending out our bi-weekly newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to the mailing list, you can do so now at bov.nl. Our Twitter account is Bits of Freedom. We will have a full-time staff. Check our newsletter for vacancies if you're interested. And most importantly, we will need your help. Every contribution, and I think that in-kind contributions are as valuable as financial contributions, is appreciated. So if you want to do something, you can contact us and we're open to your help. So before I conclude, let me say some words of thanks. Firstly, thank you Shura, thank you Maurice and the former board of directors for their work in the past years. I would also like to thank the Foundation Internet for All, who is making this possible and providing a substantial grant which allows us to start a professional and serious organization. Thank you Doke for taking the lead in that. And lastly, I would like to thank the current board of directors for preparing the new relaunch of Bits of Freedom. Joris, thank you for playing a pivotal role in that. And let me then conclude. Digital technologies still carry within them a great promise. It is a promise of emancipation and freedom, individual freedom. It is a promise of imagination and creativity. It is a promise that each of us can live up to its full potential without undue restriction by government and without undue restriction by corporations. Let us make that promise come true, and let us make bits of freedom into megabytes of freedom. Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free. Sure, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Zimmerman from La Quadrature du Net, and I mostly wanted to say welcome back to you.
Thank you.
As you know, we were quite active on the Adopi law in France and the telecoms package in Europe. We'll talk about this on Sunday if you want on the Hack the Law talk.
Yep.
There's this workshop afterwards where we can synchronize our action on a European level. And
Yep.
I just wanted to pinpoint here two major objectives that are coming, and our fellow Dutch people might like to get active on this, which is the third reading of the telecoms package that will begin by the end of September, early October, where network neutrality and discrimination will be at stake. And afterwards is already on the tracks a European directive about protecting the children online, which include very disturbing propositions about filtering child pornography, filtering of content on the internet. So we'll have to be together very active and watchful on those topics.
Yeah, well, very important, and let's try and work together.